What will you pay for a night in an orbital hotel? When does space travel become truly economical? These are some fun questions to ask. I mean, we know from Virgin.
This was kind of my thing here.
Okay, but let me just say this before you say this was my kind of thing. We know that there's a line, a year long, people paying $200,000 to get onto Virgin Galactic, which is all about
Seattle rich.
4 minutes in space, I think, is what they're going to get for that $200,000. At which point Branson said it will go down to $100,000 a year later. Great for 4 minutes in space. So obviously there's a lot. But now, Eytan, since you brought this up, go ahead. It's all yours.
Well, the concept is, at what point does something become economically viable? Sure, as long as a millionaire is willing to pay a lot of money, or the government's willing to subsidize it so 12 guys can go to the moon and the rest of us got to stay here. Yay, that's no big deal for us. When does train travel become something that the average person can do? When can somebody just afford to get on an airplane? Airplanes used to be the most spectacular thing, and now, let's face it, $175 and just timing just right on Travelocity can get you to New York. So at some point, something cracks, something breaks, and what was the unbelievable realm of the rich, the wealthy, the powerful, the government, becomes open to everybody. So at what price point will space travel become possible? I predicate $4,000. I say once you can get an orbital flight down to $4,000, most of us will try to scrounge that money up and go. There's something about $5,000 people, there's something about that number. I'm going to say if you can get us up to maybe only...
Are you saying into space or at the hotel?
No, just get you to the hotel, not even spend the night. Just go up to the hotel.
I think 4,000 is the limit for the space flight. Like, if I want 4 minutes in space for 4,000, I could probably
but once you can get enough people doing that, the rest follows.
And
by the way, the joy of it is, once you get to that $4,000 price point, 5 years later, it's $400.
Could you?
And I'm not crapping.
You guys are making an assumption that space travel is like air travel. People don't fly on airplanes for the fun of flying airplanes. People fly on airplanes to get to somewhere else quicker. Is there really a demand among people to just travel for the heck of it into space? I mean, I wouldn't do that. What do you
if
want
I
to know?
could manage to spend a night, actually to go through a sunrise or sunset in an orbital hotel, I would freaking do it.
I'm not saying there aren't people who would do it. There's definitely demand, but is there
I'll even sleep with you in that room and share the cost.
I do have an answer for you, by the way.
Oh my God!
It has to do with human nature. One of the most popular things about the Brooklyn Bridge when it was first built wasn't the fact that you could go across the Hudson River to get to Brooklyn. It was the tallest point in New York City, or at that point the two cities, because there were separate cities. It was the tallest point in the area, and guess what most people wanted to do? They didn't want to go to Brooklyn. And people in Brooklyn actually really didn't want to go to Manhattan. They've always kind of been... But everybody wanted to go to the top of the Brooklyn Bridge.
I agree. But it's sustainable. That's not something that's going to happen over a long period of time where it can become economically feasible for them to bring the prices down.
It doesn't have to be sustainable. If half the people in the United States want to go up there, the price will go down to the point where it's $400, and somebody decides to build an industry making ball bearings in space, which will be perfect and economically very viable.
Ultimately, that's the answer. Once the industry walks in there, then your price is going to go down because they create the technology for the consumer.
Okay, but also, let's say my family does like flying trapeze. We had a bat mitzvah, my daughter had a bat mitzvah where anyone can come and do flying trapeze. Dani, did you take up doing the flying trapeze?
I did not.
So I think that the same people, if you're... Well, you didn't come. You were invited, but you didn't come.
Man, I would have loved to see that.
It's the same kind of like if you're on a high risk, if you like risk, if you're interested in going to height, then you will be interested in doing a flight. If you're not, then you probably won't. So it's a very viable thing, price point as well.
We have I'm with Martin just in terms of the beauty of wanting to see that incredible thing, but we have a lot of audience members who've been waiting very patiently. Let's start in the back with Michelle.
You're talking about needing to get someplace. That's why you fly. My goal in life is I'm going to pick up my own rock from the moon.
I like it. Ed.
Forget the orbital hotel. That's only a staging point for the orbital cruise.
Nice, brother.
Cruise to the moons of Jupiter, the rings of Saturn, through the asteroid belt, and it better be Princess Cruises. It's the first one to do it.
With a rock climbing wall, like from Michelle. Marty.
Yeah, a lot of people are forgetting something that's going to, I don't care if you have $1 billion. If you're 85 years old, and unless it's nice and easy like an airplane, if it's 9 G's take off, you'll crack all your ribs. It's not going to be a pleasure.
Mr. Buzzkill, hair. Go ahead.
Of course, Ben Bova for years has been talking about he wants his low gravity honeymoon suite.
Oh, I've got all sorts of pictures in my head, my friend. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's been talking about that for a long time.
Let me whip this out.
That want to be the ultimate in the Mile High Club.
That would be the 20 Mile High Club, I believe. Arlene.
As a person who worked over 10 years in the travel industry, in the wholesale travel industry, if somebody packages it, someone will pay for it. And if you're a seasoned traveler and you've been all over the world, including Russia and everything else, then that would be the next step.
Amen. Charles Lee Jackson II.
Yes, remember that right now, people go all the way down to Anaheim to ride Star Tours, and it doesn't go anywhere at all. Marsha.
If you build it, they will come.
Amen, sister.
Damn straight.
I forgot your name. I'm sorry.
You asked, the basic question was how much culture repair, how much would
What's the price point?
What's the break point where it becomes economically viable? Where most of us will say, screw it, I'm going to do it.
$400?
For me, it'd be $600. Yeah, for me individually. Plus, you got to have conventions out there to get other people out there.
We needed to have a sci-fi convention up there.
Orbitcon. Okay, well, that about wraps up this topic, and I thank our audience for sure, and our panel as well, and we will now go into the awkward silence.